Welcome back everyone to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. We have a big video today. We have the September tier list video to rank every movie I watched in September. I watched 11 new releases, so we have some good, some bad. Before we get into it, make sure you leave a like. Helps out a lot. Subscribe to the channel. I upload a lot. But let's get right into the tier list. Alright, so first up in our tier list for September, we're going to start with Expendables 4, or as known as the poster, Expendables. I don't really know why they did that. I hate when movies put the number in between the title. Just makes no sense. Just makes it even more confusing for the audience, and it makes it like more unwatchable, I would say, for people. Like, no one wants to go see this. I didn't do a box with Josh video when this movie dropped, but this movie had an abysmal box office opening. I think it only opened with about 8 million, and its production budget was $100 million. This movie is going to be one of the biggest flops of the year. It's going to be horrendous for whatever studio made this. I forgot what studio made this. Oh my goodness. I really don't care about this movie. I did see it, and yeah, it's just not good. Holy crap. I binged all the Expendables movies earlier this month, all three. I actually have a lot of fun with them. I don't think they're like great movies. I don't think most of them are even good movies, but I have a lot of fun with them. I think they have a lot of fun moments between the cast. And the third one, I had a lot of fun with, especially because Antonio Banderas was literally on crack during that movie's production. He was amazing in it. But yeah, I feel like the first three have a lot of fun moments. You can find some like enjoyable time in watching those three. But when I watched this one just started off so bad. Like, just with the scene that just seemed like it was just done in reshoots and no one knew where to put this scene. And let me just tell you, this movie has some of the worst green screen of the year. And this movie has a $100 million budget. How does this have some of the worst green screen of the year? It's literally horrendous. And Jason Statham actually takes a front seat in this movie, which I'm not mad about because I do like Jason Statham a lot. I liked him in the Guy Ritchie movie earlier this year, Operation Fortune, I think that's what it was called. But Sylvester Stallone is like the big man of this franchise, and he's really hardly in this movie. He's like kind of big for the plot, but he's hardly in this movie, and that really disappointed me. Megan Fox, a lot of people said she's horrible, but she's not that bad in the movie, but I really think there was no need to put her in this movie. You basically just have a cast that's such a big step down from the third one, so it's hard for you to really attach to any of these people. And yeah, the action in this isn't that great. There's a lot of just CGI blood, which I'm not a big fan of. I hate CGI blood. If you saw my Renfield review, hate CGI blood, one of my least favorite things in filmmaking. But yeah, the story is so weak, green screen terrible, and I just felt like this movie was just a really big waste of time. But I do enjoy watching bad movies because it does make the good movies even better. Expendables 4 though is going in the bad tier. Next up we got Bottoms. This is a big film that released, and it's a comedy film about like girls starting a lesbian fight club just trying to get girls, and it's literally hilarious. I talked to a lot of people, my friends. Some of them didn't like it as much as me, but that's fine. If you don't like it as much as me, that's fine. We can all have our own opinions. But this is probably the funniest movie I've seen in the past like 6-7 years. I gotta say, it like all the comedy in this movie hit for me on such a big level. I laughed so much. I bought it on digital. I watched it again not so long ago, so I've already seen this one like 3 times. So rewatchable because it's only in like an hour and a half. And Ayo Edebiri, I think that's how you say her name, is amazing in this. Rachel Sennett, so great. I would love to see her in more movies. Someone actually on Twitter said that Rachel Sennett should be in a Scream movie, and I think that's like 100%. I need that. I need that in my life. That would be amazing. Her as Ghostface would be just tremendous. But yeah, this movie's awesome. And this movie, there's like a lot of bomb scenes. There's a lot of bombs in this movie. But yeah, all the jokes land for me. I think the script is so smart for this time. And Marshawn Lynch, such an MVP. If I had my own Oscars, which I might host my own Oscars later this year, I would put Marshawn Lynch in that supporting actor category. He's a great supporting actor in this movie. Like everything that he says is amazing, and there's a gag reel in the credits. Like, we haven't seen that in a long time. But Bottoms, going in the amazing tier. Good for you, Bottoms. We haven't had an amazing movie in a long time. Next up is No One Will Save You, the new Hulu original film with Caitlin Dever. This one is actually one of my favorites of the month. Even though I don't think it's like an amazing film, I think it's really good. I want to tell you guys a short story though. I posted a review on TikTok for this one, and a lot of people really came at me for liking this movie. They said I was like being paid for liking it, and they said it was crap. And like, I'm like such a small reviewer. How would I be paid for a review? people just don't like it when you have a different opinion from them. It's utterly hilarious. Like, if you like something, they got to come after you and say, oh, this movie's terrible, what are you talking about? And like, I just find that so funny, because I'm not going to waste my time and reply to you for such a stupid comment. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot. I love the feel of this movie. The tension was off the charts. I do agree with some people saying that the CGI is kind of weak, but it's like a streaming movie. What are you going to do? It's like, what are you going to do about that? And the ending I thought was also pretty weak at some points. But yeah, the first 30 minutes are absolutely amazing work with tension and just the atmosphere of scary aliens. You know, I loved it. And I wish this would have gone to theaters. It would have been such a fun time. Kind of like Barbarian from last year or 2 years ago. Such a great time in the theater. So yeah, I think Hulu and Disney are having like really big missteps for not putting this one in theaters or Prey in theaters. Such a big missed opportunity for me, I think. But I still enjoyed Prey a lot, so I'm going to put it, I still enjoyed No One Will Save You a lot. Put it in the good tier. I'm just talking about Prey and No One Will Save You. They're both very good. Let's just say that. Next up is A Million Miles Away, the new biopic. I really enjoyed this film a decent bit in the first half. But after that, I started to just not care about it as much because it really seemed to be a little formulaic for a biopic movie. Michael Pena in this one was amazing, though. I think this is one of his best acting roles in a decent bit of time. So I thought he was great in this movie. But yeah, like I said, I think it started to get a little forgettable once that second half started playing. I did enjoy the ending, though. The last 15 minutes were very heartfelt, very emotional. And I did enjoy the first half. I thought that was a great story, what they're trying to tell. And I thought the foundations for it were great. But yeah, as I said, I think that second half was just a little too formulaic for me with all the biopics we're getting this year. You got to make something new. You got to make something different to make it stand out. But I still think it's an okay film. I had an okay time watching it. Next up is Spy Kids Armageddon, a new Robert Rodriguez film. So a lot of people might come after me for this, saying Spy Kids is a kids film. Yeah, I did watch the original Spy Kids when I was a kid, and I still will watch them because I try to watch all the new releases. And I just did not enjoy this movie. Robert Rodriguez is just a money laundering man. Let's just say that. He just gets away with making the same movie over and over again. A same convoluted science fiction mess of a film with terrible green screen, terrible CGI, and some really interesting like filmmaking skills. Like, he's usually behind like all of his filmmaking, which is quite interesting, but respect to him, you know, he does what he wants. But yeah, I don't enjoy the Spy Kids films anymore. As an adult, I don't think they're great, and I feel like the story is kind of laughable, even though that's kind of the point. It is for kids. But even as a kid, I don't know if I would have enjoyed this film. It's just, I just see through all of this and think it's just so fake, and I don't think a Spy Kids film really fits in our time right now. I mean, when the original ones did release, I think they did fit because all the CGI was like that. But now you're making a Spy Kids film like this right now, I don't think it fits at all. I think it's just weird. And Robert Rodriguez, you're a madman because you're just making the same movie over and over again. So good for you, man. Just do what you want, I guess. But Spy Kids Armageddon goes in the terrible tier. The Nun 2 also came out this month, and I feel like The Nun 2, like, it's been kind of rocking. You know, this movie's been rocking at the box office because horror after the pandemic has a lot of box office success we've seen. It's like an easy movie to make money on because horror has such a low budget, and then you have such a big return because the movie makes so much at the box office. So that's like the best like genre to go into right now, which is very interesting. But The Nun 2, you know, I was nervous about The Nun 2 because The Nun 1, I hated The Nun 1. I thought it was so boring, and I thought it wasn't even scary at all, and I thought the plot was just so convoluted and such a mess. So I was going into this one with really low expectations. I kind of came out though really actually kind of liking it in a way, but like kind of not liking it. I was like kind of split down the middle because I felt like the story was also something that I didn't really care about. Again, you know, I feel like the Conjuring universe has this really hard thing that they're trying to get over right now, which is I only really care about the Conjuring movies. I don't really care about the spinoffs too much. I feel like this one falls under the same umbrella. Don't care about the story. I did care about the characters a little bit more in this one, though. I did like them a little bit more in what they're going through. And I felt like the horror aspects and scares this one were actually pretty decent. but I felt like the first half was actually kind of boring for me. It reminded me of the first one a little bit. The second half really amped this up and went to like level 5. A lot of people didn't like that because it felt like so much was going on at once, but I really enjoyed it for this kind of film, like just a Conjuring universe. Everything's happening at once, so many horror moments. I love that for this movie, and I felt like it worked a lot more than the first half. So I will say this one got better than the first movie. In the first half was disappointing, but the second half really leveled up and actually cared for the characters, cared for the nun, and the post-credit scene was very interesting. We might be getting Conjuring 4 pretty soon. But the Nun 2, I'll put that in the okay tier. A Haunting in Venice next up. A Haunting in Venice is pretty interesting because this is the third Hercule Poirot movie in Kenneth Branagh's trilogy that he directs. He stars, directs it, and I've never been really fond of this series. I've always thought they're like below average or average movies. So I really went into this one with kind of open expectations. And let me just say, this is probably one of the most relaxing movies that you'll see this year because the cinematography and like the pacing of this one is really relaxing in a way that it's not boring, but you're like really in the moment and you just kind of want to fall asleep even though you're really enjoying the movie. Because I did enjoy the movie. The cast is a big step down from the last one and the first one. This is like the worst cast out of the 3 though. I think the cast did pretty good, but the cast just isn't that great. The story is better, I think, than the previous 2, and I like the horror aspects, but at the same time, I feel like this is just such a weak mystery, and you're just trying to do so much in such a short runtime, it's just not going to work for me. So I feel like A Haunting in Venice just proves that maybe this trilogy can never be like financially successful, really, because it's just not as good as the heights of like a real mystery movie, like a Knives Out movie. So I feel like this is probably the last Haunting or Hercule Poirot movie we're ever going to get, which I'm fine with because I'm going to put it in the okay tier. Next up is Equalizer 3. This one kind of left me disappointed, I gotta say, because we start out with such an amazing action sequence in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the film. Then you don't really get a lot of action, and the action that you get is really not as good as that first action sequence. I think each action sequence gets worse with the next one. Like, I wish the action got bigger, but I get that it's such a small film. They're going for such a small story about Denzel Washington's character. He's kind of like retired from this, kind of like a healing man now, and does a lot of walking around, just talking to the people, and I kind of enjoyed that aspect a little bit. But for this movie, I thought that it's only an hour and 45, and I thought that it was a very slow movie. It was slow moving. Pace was just so slow. I wanted it to really pick up the pace for like a third movie finale. Kind of really disappointed me. It wasn't as bad as the second one, I'll say, but it's never going to reach the heights of the first one for me. So Equalizer 3, I'm okay with putting in the okay tier. Next up, we got Dumb Money. This is the GameStop story, the infamous GameStop story that happened like 2020, 2021. So they pushed this movie out really fast. And like I've said, I did a project on this for school, so I was very excited for this movie. And let me just say, I did enjoy this movie a decent bit. I said that this is one of the year's most entertaining films. And if a film is entertaining, I will say it's at least decent. You know, I felt this one was really good, and it's better than the decent that I give some other movies. And I thought the cast was absolutely magnificent. Paul Dano, he did an absolutely amazing job as Roaring Kitty. He's just been on a tear lately of playing some ridiculous and interesting roles. He played the Riddler, he played Steven Spielberg's dad in The Fabelmans, and now he's on this. Like, he's doing a killer job. Shailene Woodley, back at it again, acting. She was actually pretty good for the small role that she had. Pete Davidson, hilarious. I'm a Pete Davidson defender. I think is awesome. And yeah, I think the way that Craig Gillespie told this story was pretty brilliant. He actually made it so you can understand it. And you kind of compare this a little bit to The Big Short. I think The Big Short is still so much better than this. I think there's comparisons that can be made for here. And I think the soundtrack was brilliant. And I love the story of like these kind of interesting stock movies, because I love how you can go in there as an audience member that's kind of stupid and doesn't know a lot about stocks and go out with a little bit of knowledge learned. You know, that's how I felt about Oppenheimer. You can learn a decent bit about movies, and I felt like I learned a decent bit about this while watching a pretty good film and pretty entertaining, as I said. And I probably will be watching this a decent bit on digital when it comes out, because I feel like it's a pretty good time and your cast is actually in there and wanting to be there. So I really wanted to be there too. You know, I love the story. I feel like it's a big underdog story of one person just going through all the companies and getting all the money from them after just, you know, boosting up a stock. I thought it was a great time. So I'm going to get, Dumb Money. Do you want to put in the great tier or the good tier? I'm edging the great tier for dumb money. I really thought it's a great time. All right, next up on the tier list, we got The Creator, directed by Gareth Edwards. He's directed Rogue One, Godzilla. This one also stars John David Washington. You know, in my review, I said this is probably the most divisive film of the year, and I might stick to that because I've seen so many different polar opposite opinions. I've seen people love it, seen people hate it, seen some people just think it's okay. I'm really in the zone where I really think it's great. You know, as a big science fiction fan, I was really pumped up for this movie because the trailer looked so exciting, so inviting. It looked like such a wonderful, like weird kind of like environment where AI kind of like took over some of the world. That's kind of like how it is. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that's kind of like where the plot really gets interesting. And I really did enjoy this movie because it has a lot of Blade Runner 2049 in it. It has a lot of Last of Us comparisons in it, which are those are two things that I really do enjoy a lot. Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favorite movies of all time. So seeing some of that in this movie just made me love it even more. I feel like some of the plot is just a little weak and the script's a little weak. Some of the emotional moments don't land for me a lot in the first and second act, but the third act has one emotional moment that did really land for me. And the film really does try to get you cry by that third act. Now, I was pretty close. So the emotional moment in that third act did land for me, but I didn't cry at the end of it. I feel like all the performances here are great. John David Washington, amazing lead in this. I just love him in everything that he is in. Gemma Chan, awesome. She has a small role, but I think she's awesome. The little girl, Madeline, I think she's great in this. This is her first role. She did an amazing job. But the VFX are where this movie really shines. The VFX are just so seamless. $80 million budget. The cinematography also is just crazy good. I was so impressed with how visually stunning this movie looks. Like, this movie kind of makes me... This movie, I think, kind of looks like a Tron Legacy, Pacific Rim, or, as I said, Blade Runner 2049, because it looks so technologically advanced. Since you're focusing on so much AI and all that, I really do think a lot of people should see this because it makes you think of AI in like kind of a different way, and you can really learn more about AI. I feel like this is kind of a very important film, so I feel like people should go see it. If you hate it, if you love it, who cares? I feel like it's just a very important film for like AI's sake, you know? So I really did enjoy it, and I feel like its pacing was also really good. So The Creator, I'm gonna put that one in the great tier because I really enjoyed it as a science fiction fan. All right, last up in our tier list for September is Saw X. We finally got another Saw movie, and this one is kind of like, probably in my opinion, the best since the first one. It would only have to go against 2 probably, because 2 is my second best. So I think this one, Saw X, might be a little bit better than 2, so it's better. It's almost as good as the original, but not, it doesn't quite reach the height. But Saw X, I had a lot of fun time with it. You know, I feel like the first act is a bit slow, starts a little slow. Its pace is kind of weird in those first 30 minutes, but once you get into those traps in that secret layer that John Kramer has, it gets really fun. You know, it gets to feel like an actual Saw movie, because I feel like some Saw movies, they open kind of crazy. This one didn't open as crazy as those other ones, but just having the Saw feel in this movie just made it so much better, in my opinion. You know, it actually felt like a Saw movie, had that Saw score, had that Saw editing. The crazy editing was back, and the traps are pretty gnarly in this one, but I did kind of I wanted them to go a little bit farther with the traps, even though they went kind of crazy. If you've seen the movie, you know the traps go kind of crazy, but I feel like they didn't show as much as they did in those earlier Saw movies. Maybe they were just kind of going a little easy, I don't know, but I wish they were a little bit better. But still, I feel like the movie is pretty dang cool, and seeing Amanda back was cool. Tobin Bell back as John Kramer was just amazing. You know, he's basically the one who started it all with this franchise. He's the main lead of the franchise, so having him back for Saw X was just awesome. And can we just say that Billy is a straight up menace to society? He's a messed up puppet helping up John Kramer like this. Billy is a menace to society. Let's just get that through our brains. But yeah, I enjoyed Saw X a lot. I wish it was a little bit better. I had high expectations for this one. It didn't really meet those expectations, but it's not a bad movie overall. Saw X, I really just had a lot of fun with, even though that it started really slow and it was kind of very corny. Even though some of the Saw movies are pretty corny, the first 30 minutes were a little too corny for me, but then when you finally get into it, you really do get into it, and it gets to feel like an actual Saw movie. So Saw X, I want to put that one in the good tier. Let's do our final ranking now in the terrible tier. Spy Kids Armageddon is the only terrible movie this month. This month was a lot better than last month, let's just say that. Bad tier, Expendables. is the only movie in the bad tier. So those movies I will probably never go back to again. The okay tier, we got 4 movies on this tier. Let's go ahead and rank these. You know, I think just off personal opinion, I would probably put A Haunting in Venice at the top, A Million Miles Away in second, and then Equalizer 3 in third, then Nun 2 in the last spot. And Nun 2 I don't think is bad, it's just not as good as those other ones. In the good tier, I'm probably going to put Saw X at the top because it's just like some of that. It's just crazy. It's a crazy movie. Just makes you think of the original Saw movies. It's so fun, but No One Will Save You. Such a good original science fiction flick. I thought it was awesome. The great tier, I am actually going to move The Creator up to second place. Second best movie of the month in my opinion. And Bottoms is the best movie of the month. I really had an awesome time with Bottoms. My favorite comedy film in the past 6 years. I really do think it's hilarious. And I just love the whole cast in here. It's just such an easy movie to put on, an hour and a half. I loved it so much. I'm very happy that September was such a better month than August, because August was really weak. A lot of bad movies in that month. But this month we actually had a pretty good amount of good movies. We had at least 5 good movies on here, and so 5 that I'll definitely go back to and watch again. So I'm very happy this month was better for movies. Let's hope that October has some good movies, because it's looking like October has not a lot of movies coming out, so let's hope they're all quality. But let me know, what were your favorite movies that came out in September? Make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, it helps out a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.